The entire scene that you saw just now was shot just using a Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra together with the DJI Ronin SC. So let me explain on why this phone as a mobile cinematographer could actually appeal to a big variety of people just like you. So let's get on to it. Right, the first thing is the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra sports in 4 freaking lenses. Now that even beats the iPhone 12 Pro Max having only 3 lenses. Now we talk about resolution, right? This phone shoots at a whopping 8K at 24 frames per second. Wow, how did they do it? Then it shoots at 4K, 60 frames per second and 30 frames per second. Shoots at 1080p at 30 frames per second, 60, 120, 240 frames per second on 1080p. This is a pretty pro feature, looks good on paper so far. Plus, they gotta go down a notch, it shoots at 720p at 960 frames per second. Now that's crazy, how many frames per second do you need? Now not only that, this phone sports HDR10+. My thoughts about the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. Let's start, huh? The first thing is the HDR10, right? You have a really good tool in a phone. However, the HDR10 Plus underexposes your image so much. I have no idea why. It wants to capture the information on the highlights, like the skies, more so than the buildings on the downs or the shadows. So when I bring the image back in post, you can see that this was an unedited raw image of what I shot and it looks disgusting. I have to put in so much work just to raise the shadows and also mute the highlights while doing the S-curve and as well as the color grading and all that. So it's just, this is a really crappy thing. Plus, the information, the codec that it captures is at H.264.420. Now, the reason why I'm shooting at H.264 is because I'm trying my best to edit this as simple as I can, and my dog is barking. Now, I understand that this phone can shoot at H.265 HEVC codec. However, my Premiere Pro version in 2019 cannot read that file. Therefore, I'm shooting in H.264 at a 420 codec. Now, this codec is a super compressed codec that does not retain a lot of the information required for you to raise the shadows while protecting the highlights without the image falling apart like this. It becomes a big mess. So, this phone featuring the HDR10 Plus just doesn't work out for me that much in terms of my needs to create a cinematographic sequence using a really good phone. Doesn't cut it. Now the second thing that I find shortcoming of this phone is the over sharpening. If you look at the image, you can tell that there's a lot of over sharpening being done and I'm just not a big fan of it. Over sharpening an image may look pleasant at landscapes. However, now I brought this phone down to its roots. I tested it on the toughest condition that I can possibly imagine. Now let's move on to the harsh environments. So ideally you want to have an ND filter built in, or you want to have an ND filter that's external that you actually put onto the phone camera so that it can maintain your shutter speed at 150 for shutter speed when you're shooting at 24 frames per second. So when you don't have an ND filter, the next best thing you can do is to crank up the shutter speed. So that's exactly what I did here. No complaints there. The shutter speed is actually pretty good. You can actually handle a really harsh environment light, such as that scene. But the only thing that I find, maybe if one day smartphones could be a bit better is for us to control the aperture. If smartphones could enable us filmmakers to control the aperture, oh my god, that would be a game changer, right? So shutter speed, no complaint there. And the last harsh environment we're testing is the colors. Now this is where I feel Samsung really does us very dirty, is their color science. The color science is something that looks really plastic and fake and just unimpressive. The reds look orange, the orange looks more orange, and the skies. I have no idea why Samsung, like, you tend to oversaturate the blue on the skies, telling us, yes, the sky is blue, we know, but we just want to make sure you know even more, so we paint it blue. In my eyes, when I look at the sky, I see a really light baby blue, but in the phone, it captures like a really dark blue. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, if you're a filmmaker and you really know your stuff in terms of color editing, maybe this phone might be the one for you. Maybe, because then again, you can correct everything in post. However, if you're a person that shoots image right out of the camera and then upload it onto Facebook or Instagram, I would highly avoid buying a phone such as this, because you're gonna have to put in a bit more time to color grade and to reduce the sharpening effect, and of course the HDR10 being wonky like this image. So, and let's talk about the other features, right? Like the 100 times zoom. Because when I look at the other YouTubers talk about the 100 times magnification, and I got really underwhelmed. Like, that's more like a party trick rather than anything else. It's not even usable in the fact that it's just so muddy. Magnification is just not that good. In fact, if you want to get a Samsung so desperately, you might not even want to consider getting the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. You might actually just get a Samsung Galaxy S20 without the Ultra, without the 5G, even if you don't even have 5G. You don't really need that because, let's face it, the 100 times magnification is just a gimmick. You might as well just settle for 30. Now the 30 magnification still look pretty good, pretty decent, but the 100 times, absolutely trash. So again, my thoughts and opinion about this phone. This phone is great on paper, you know, 8K with 720p, 960 frames per second, 100 times magnification, HDR10 plus. It looks so goddamn good on paper, just like any girl on Tinder, but it ends up being so goddamn awful for whatever reason that it's supposed to do. I just don't know. Even the 6S could, I would take my 6S over that. And yeah, the iPhone 12 Pro Max floors in terms of cinematography. If you haven't checked out that video, you can check it out on the link down below on my video of the iPhone 12 Pro Max.
Hey guys, so this part was added in right after I'm done editing this video. Essentially, I just want to highlight on what I love about the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra is their Pro mode. Now, if you can see, this video here was shot without the Pro mode, everything on automated. You can see how muddy and not clear the image truly is. However, if you truly know your stuff in Pro mode, you can actually get the same image looking so much better, example like this. Now, the Pro mode enables you to record in your shutter speed and as well as your ISO to make sure that you get the cleanest image. So for this case, the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra should not go above 1600 ISO or else you're gonna get a pretty muddy image.
So thank you so much for tuning into this kind of video. Your support is highly appreciated as I will continue on this mobile cinematography videos challenge series. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please keep subscribe, please. And if you have any further questions, you can comment down in the section below and I'll respond to you guys as soon as I can. Now, if you want to follow me on Instagram, my link is on the description down below as well. And thank you so much for tuning in. And Samsung, you gotta improve on your color science, man.